Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with episode 18 of my Halloween horror movie reviews, and this episode is going to be for none other than a remake, and in the torture porn genre. Yeah, so I'll give you a hint. This this movie, which is a remake of a film that was released in 1978, and you all remember I reviewed a few weeks ago, and I remember not really liking. Yes, this movie is for none other than the 2010 remake of the 1978 torture porn flick, cult flick, I Spit on Your Grave. And this is the 2010 version. So, it's kind of weird to remake this. I mean, it seems a little too controversial for a remake, and as it wasn't really wide released, it was banned in so many countries because of how gratuitously nasty and violent it was. So why remake this movie? However, there was one difference. I'm actually one of the few people that likes this version way better than the 1978 one. Actually, quite a few people find this one of the few remakes that are better than the original, one of the better horror remakes out there. And I agree with them on this one. And someone, especially someone who did not like the original movie, actually kind of likes this one better. I think this one does everything the original did poorly. This one does all that stuff a lot better here. It's a lot darker, it's more violent, the first one relied more on the rape and less on the revenge scenes. This one relies a little less on the rape and relies way more on the revenge scenes. This one. So anyway, I'll explain the plot, and the plot of the movie is pretty much the same as the 1978 film. So like the original movie, the writer Jennifer Hills rents an isolated lakeside cabin in the woods of the peaceful Mockingbird Trail for 2 months to write a novel. 2 days later, she is brutally gang raped by 3 local bigots, the sheriff and a handyman. Yeah, actually guys, there's a little difference is that there's no sheriff in the original one. The original one, it was just the 3 bigots and a handyman. Or a disabled guy, or whatever you want to call him. Like either way, it's still like still the same. They still have the same names. The 3 bigots and the handyman still have the same names as the guys from the original movie. The only difference is there's now a sheriff who's the leader instead of one of them, instead of the Johnny guy. The original, the Johnny guy was the leader. So the sheriff this time the sheriff is the big bad of the film. But anyway, Jennifer returns a few weeks later, or a few months later, for her revenge against the rapists. So yeah, pretty much the same plot as the 1970 original because it is a remake of that movie. This movie was directed by Stephen R. Monroe and was actually released unrated with no edits, and also like the original did not have a wide release, which kind of actually makes sense because the public would freak out over this, so they would rage over it. Well, then again, they raged over the original movie. But yeah, it was earned about $572,000 on a $2 million budget. Well, however, it was more. It somehow got 2 direct-to-DVD sequels because I think it must have made more profit on home video or something. But yeah, this one is directed by Stephen. Oh wait, I said that part. This film stars Sarah Butler, Shad Lindbergh, Danielle Franze, Ronnie Espen, Jeff Branson, and Andrew Howard. Is this remake of the 1978 film of the same name? Yeah. It's now, yeah. Actually, believe it or not, guys, you know that film Mean Girls? Yeah, you know the comedy film, and one of the rapists, the Stanley in this version, the guy with the camera, if you have seen this movie, is actually, believe it or not, is actually Damien from that movie, you know. Yeah, like yeah. So just actually makes it kind of a little funny that the guy who plays Damien in Mean Girls actually plays a rapist in this film. Now, okay, there are some fans of the original film out there where it has enough support that it lists as a horror cult classic of sorts by some. It isn't remotely a good film. Whether it's judged as feminist with fulfillment or a gritty Gorno exercise in censored baiting. Fact remains it's badly acted, badly directed, and just leaves a nasty taste in the mouth. Monroe's remake Let's face it, in this day and age of porno and torture porn, Access the film was ripe for a reimagining. It's filled with two totally different halves. Two halves that, while not making a satisfactory whole, do make for attention grabbing, squirm inducing viewing. The unease remains. I mean, how can it not with gang rape and revenge filled torture as its centerpieces? But it's competently acted, especially by Butler, gives a bold show and a challenging role. And for those who like letting Groove, the film is the last third delivers by the bucket load. Directing wise, Monroe is guilty of letting the build up drag too long, and even though the payoff is worth the wait, taking its lead from the Sash Q movies lacks in invention, almost steals what freshness the film had to offer, but I think it's actually way but honestly I think it kind of makes this version a lot better than the original movie in a way. Like, to start off, this film isn't very nice to watch. In fact, sometimes it's almost unbearable, but if you've seen the original and you know what to expect, then this actually delivers. Butler is fantastic as the lead, and we feel her pain throughout. I mean, Camilla Keaton was also pretty good as the lead. She was one of the few redeeming qualities of the original movie. So yeah, but I think they're both pretty good for what they are. I mean, the rest of the cast is good for some reason, even though for some reason they kind of look a little bored in some scenes, but in this one, the deaths are actually very original. Unlike in this remake, actually makes the deaths more original. They don't just copy the deaths from the original movie. They actually do the deaths way more different here, and they make them much more graphic. They ramp up all the gore, they ramp up all the torture scenes, and here, like, this one relies more on the torture. Yeah, the rape scene is not really as graphic in this version as the original movie is, but however, the torture scenes are definitely much more straight up, much more gruesome in this version here. Like, don't be perturbed by the naysayers. You know what to expect when you're watching a film like this. Uneasy, awkward viewing. Like, it's a good job the cast put in such good performances, which surpasses the original by a milestone. So, yeah, but if you are looking for a good, violent, straightforward revenge flick that has the snake, that has a woman mowing down her attackers, then this is right up your alley. But be warned, taking the most memorable ideas from films like Irreversible and Hostel and putting it together in the same film makes I Spit on Your Grave the true worst date movie of 2010. So yeah, if you are going to watch this film, make sure you don't watch it with a date as a first date, because chances are that's not going to give your girlfriend a really nice bunch of really nice thoughts on her way back. So be sure to watch this movie alone. It has found its audience for sure, while it's equally found enemies in critical and PC correctional quarters. But for a horror movie of that time, it actually does do a job well. And as remakes of older horrors go, it's one of the better ones. Surpassing the original by some margin too, because when you saw my best remakes list, I actually did put this film on the list of the best horror remakes. So yeah. But until then, that's my review for the remake, and here's how I'm going to rank the 2010 remake of I Spit on Your Grave. I am going to give I Spit on Your Grave 2010 a 6.5 out of 10. And there we go. That's it for my review of the 2010 I Spit on Your Grave remake. Oh, I forgot to mention another bad quality. This movie did also, about the two sequels, my thoughts on them. The two remake sequels. Now, the 2013 direct-to-DVD sequel, I Spit on Your Grave, I was not a fan of that movie. It basically just felt like a third remake of the original movie. Because, like, just set it in a city, have a different protagonist, and in fact, what is way more fucked up about the second one? They have a way younger protagonist. I think like a teenage female protagonist for I Spit on Your Grave 2, which is actually a little too fucked up in kind of a way. Like there were some things I really did not want to see in that sequel, but yeah, I did not like that movie. I mean, there were nasty things in this movie in the original too, but not like this excessive like two was. Like the rape scene in two was. Ugh. But and then on Spinning Grave 3 Vengeance is Mine is a slight improvement. I mean it does I like that it does bring back Jennifer Hill, so it's kind of more of a proper sequel to the first one, to the 2010 film, I mean. So I kind of wish The Vengeance is Mine were the second one, but it was still not a good sequel at all either. But because it just almost made her a little too unlikable. But then again, she is kind of a rape victim, so but still. And then there was the original did get a remake in 2019 called I Spin Your Grave Deja Vu, which was an absolute abortion, which does not exist, and I don't want to talk about it. Moving on from that, but yeah. So, what's going to be episode 19? Or the next episode? Well, it's a sequel to a movie I reviewed last week. Yeah, last week. And it's, of course, back in the zombie flick. Yeah, guys, of course, it's 20 weeks later. I think you guys can guess that by now. But until then, that'll be it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to like, subscribe to Movie Lover 120.